Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Coach Williams, got Justin Wells with me again for another great edition of Recruiting Intel. Today, we are going to go over the tight end position in the 2025 class, continuing our look through each position and the top targets at each spot. A little bit different this week. We've got one commit to talk about. We've already talked about him in a previous video, and that's Emaree Winston out of the Southeast. We'll go over also Kiotti Armstrong and Nick Townsend, the two other targets who have basically separated themselves from the pack, and it seems to be who Jeff Banks is going after. But before we go there, if we're talking about one guy who's committed and two more targets, sounds like Texas wants a three tight end class. And after Jatavian Sanders left this past season, Texas could maybe lose Amari Niblack, Juan Davis, and Gunnar Helm after this season. Justin, it seems to make sense that Texas wants to get three, but convincing three to join a class may be a tall task to get accomplished.
Also, convincing Sark that you need to take three tight ends in one cycle might be a task as well. But if there's anyone that can have some stroke and influence in that, it's Jeff Banks, your tight end coach at Texas, one of the best in the country. If they'll all three jump in, you got to take all three. And I think all three add a unique skill set. I'm eager to talk about those guys, but that's the point. Can you afford to choose three, or do you take two and try to grab another portal guy? They've done that a few times in the last few years. It really all depends on how I think Niblack looks this year, but it's going to be hard to turn down the three guys that we're going to talk about today.
So, Charlie, we'll talk about the one that's already in the class. I think when Justin and I recorded our commits video, you had not joined the recruiting intel trio. So really quickly, what did you see from Emaree Winston, who is in the number 254 in the On3 industry ranking?
Yeah, Emaree Winston, to me, he's your traditional inline blocking tight end. Like, he's strong at the point of attack. He loves to finish blocks. He has reliable hands from what I saw. He can line up at the tight end or the H. You can put him in motion, slam back across to kick the defensive end out. You can use him in a counter as an extra tackle in a goal line situation. So I think he's just your traditional inline blocking tight end who's really, really strong.
You see him more inline. Could he also do some stuff offset, maybe like Sanders did a good amount this year?
If you want to put him out there, have him as your edge blocker, on a corner or smaller safety, I would put him out there for that. It's not someone for me I would put out and flex out and just say, well, hey, go beat this guy running a route. But he's more of your bigger tight end, right? I want him blocking more than that.
So Emaree Winston's from Calhoun, Georgia, but the other two targets that Texas is interested in are from the state of Texas. And we'll go over Kiotti Armstrong first, from Jasper, Texas, out in the, I don't think is that necessarily Golden Triangle, or is that just Southeast Texas?
It's on the tip. It's just the tip. It's just the tip. East Texas and Golden Triangle. It's right in that sweet spot. You got some of that East Texas dog with some of that swamp guy from that area. That's what makes those guys so good.
Yeah. A little bit of everything. Kiotti Armstrong at Jasper, home of Texas 2024. Linebacker take, Ty Anthony Smith. Justin, where is Texas as far as trying to add back-to-back guys from Jasper in the 2024 and 2025 class?
Yeah, when I went to go see Ty Anthony is when I met Kiotti. I'd known about him. We'd seen his tape, but I'd never seen him in person. In person is a whole other experience. He's a lot bigger than you would think. I mean, he is 6'5", climbing to 6'6", 240 pounds, 250 probably at some point. And hands, man, he's got gigantic hands. I think size 18 shoe. He is just your prototypical creative player in college football 2025 tight end. I mean, that guy is monstrous. He could be an insane offensive tackle, but do not tell him that. This man wants to catch passes at the next level. Texas is in the mix. Texas has been building a relationship for well over 6 months now. Texas A&M is probably going to be the top competition coming at him. Miami is throwing a lot of attention at him as well. LSU's kind of trying to jump into the mix. This is one of those guys, like you said, it's in that sweet spot of that area of Texas where they're just really good athletes. They play with a chip on their shoulder. They work hard. They really grind. And with a guy with Kiotti Armstrong with that work habit and the ability to play tight end. He can block. He's going to need some development. He's going to need some work on his technique. He's a little raw, but for a kid that can also hit a baseball 400 feet over a center field wall, Kiotti Armstrong is a freak athlete.
Justin, he made the trek to Junior Day to check out Austin, check out campus. But you talked about baseball. We don't have a date quite yet for as far as when he may come back, just because he's dedicated to hitting dingers this spring with his high school classmates and teammates.
Yeah, he's going to have a spring schedule. He's going to hit a few schools. He's already been to Texas once this year. He's been to Texas a few times overall. Got to speak to his dad recently. He's a big fan of Austin. I think they really enjoyed that trip. A&M's going to be the one that lurks there, but yeah, he doesn't want to have anything conflicting with baseball, and we see that with prospects. Sometimes with track and field, some of these guys don't want to have that. They have prior engagements, and they also understand spring visits are nice. Going to watch practice, a spring game. Those official visits in June, that's when it really matters.
Coach, when you watched Kiotti's film, what stood out to you?
Yeah, some of the things Justin said, he's a big kid. You can see the size and strength on film. He's a traditional tight end to me, but he does have the ability to flex out. You want to put him in red zone, kind of jump ballish. I didn't want to go too far and say he was like Gronkowski, but that's what he reminds me of, just like a big human, man. He could play athletic enough to play tight end. Something that he does really well for me that I saw on film is he stays in phase with the quarterback on bootlegs and rollouts. A lot of people either behind the quarterback, making the quarterback throw behind their body, or too far ahead or leading upfield. Like, he stays in phase, so he understands spacing. He's very physical, but like Justin said, I think he's a raw blocker, and sometimes he's because he's bigger than everyone. He doesn't have great pad level or great technique blocking. He's just like, I'm bigger than you, and I'm gonna drive you out of balance.
Yeah.
Oftentimes with tight ends, especially at the high school level, they're asked to be wide receivers for their high school team just because they have the speed and movement skills in order to, even if they're not going to be fast enough at the next level to play it, they'd have to do it at the high school level because they're able to. Do you see a mix of that, or is he all outside? Is he all playing tight end? Like, what does his film look like as far as, splitting out a little bit more often than he would at the next level?
I think he's so athletic that you can try him outside as well. Like, you can motion him out if you want to get him, in the flats quickly. I think he can do that well. He can slam back across and leak into the flats. You can run a lot of wide leak stuff with him, as Sark loves to run. We saw against Iowa State. So I think he has the ability to do that. But depends on how he grows, how big he gets at the next level, where he plays the most at.
We will keep it moving a little bit. We got to talk about Nick Townsend and Justin. Texas has gotten tight ends from Dekaney before. If we remember Malcolm Epps a few classes ago. This time, Texas is going after Townsend, number 217 in the On3 industry ranking. I can't remember if he was another guy who made it to Junior Day, but this is another recruitment Texas and Jeff Banks really wants to win.
Yeah, Nick Townsend won the Best Handshake Award that we give out every year during Junior Day and summer pool visits. Strong. Kid is just strong, like country strong, kind of similar to Armstrong in that regard. Just a big, strong kid. Townsend's more well-rounded, in my opinion. Townsend's is a good athlete with good feet, and he's got soft hands. He can block. He has no problem mixing it up in the blocking, but man, this guy likes to run routes. This guy likes to run through the middle. This is one that I think people, once you turn on the film, he becomes more popular. His offer list has grown since Junior Day. Not so much in the snowball effect, but you got LSU in the mix. You got Alabama calling him. You got some Auburn. You got some big schools that he has their attention. And so Nick Townsend can do a lot of things. I think he can do the inline. I think he can do the flex. I can't wait to hear what Charlie thinks that from a projection standpoint. But if I had to choose one of the three, Townsend's the guy that's my safest pick. Like, he's the one that I feel like if you took one of these three, he is the easiest path to playing in the NFL, simply because he's very well-rounded. He's got a great frame, great size. There's no body fat. He's kind of already looks like a freshman offensive tight end on campus. And so I think Townsend, with a big senior year, I think he's going to rise in rankings.
Coach, you threw on the huddle. What'd you see when you saw the film?
Yeah, so the first thing I put was wow. And he has NFL written all over him. Like you can just see it. He has the speed. He does a great job catching the ball with his hands. He's amazing after the catch. You don't see too many tight ends can take a 90-yard bubble screen to the house. Like that's
Yeah.
rare. So he's super athletic. He's a super freak. He's physical and he plays linebacker. So you can see him making tackles coming downhill. So that shows you what kind of physicality he has. But this kid, like Justin said, I think he's ready now to play at the next level, and it shows on his film.
When you're watching all three of these guys, whether it's Winston, whether it's Armstrong, whether it's Townsend, do you see enough variety in skill set to where not only, of course, you have variety in a 3 tight end class, but they have the variety that would fit into the Texas tight end room and give them what they might be losing after this season?
Um, Definitely, and I think now with the game, you're always looking for new ways to score the football in the red zone. You can be in a lot of 12 or even 13 personnel with these guys because they all do something different, right? And all can block, but then you got two who can really get out and run routes and are mismatches. So why not? I think it's a great idea to get all three, and they'll fit well at Texas.
Joe,
Justin,
to echo what Charlie said, I think all three bring a different skill set. All three have a uniqueness about them, and all three have the one thing in common: they're big and
Yeah.
and they run. And I think that's big. Winston, to me, watch some of his basketball highlights. He's more spry than I give him credit for, and I think Texas is going to have to fight off a few schools, especially in the Florida area, who are coming at him. But I like that the way you described that. All three of them add kind of a different skill set overall.
Justin, let's kind of close on that. I think you talked it was going to be Texas and A&M for the most part for Kiotti. Is that the same for Townsend? And then who is still coming after Emaree Winston?
Yeah, okay. With Winston, Central Florida, Gus Malzahn wants him. That they built a long-term relationship. They look good there. I don't know how much Ohio State is still pushing. He's picked up a few other offers since he committed. He seems like he's pretty locked in. He's a strong maybe for the spring game on April 20th. He told me last week. For Townsend, I think it's going to come. I don't know if there's 5 or 10 schools yet with Townsend. I mean, I know there's probably 5 or 10, but I think his is going to stretch out a little bit longer, and I think Texas is actually in a great spot there with Kiotti. It's going to come down to Texas and Texas A&M, in my opinion. But Miami and LSU, watch out for these out-of-state schools. I think Kiotti stays in state, but I think he gets influenced by these out-of-state schools, and it's hard not to go to you're in Jasper, Texas, and you fly into Coral Gables. Man, it's hard not to enjoy those trips.
Miami's got a great tight end tradition, as we know, but Texas is trying to build one as well. Before we get out of here, got to thank our friend Andre the Lawyer. Andre the Lawyer is a longtime Inside Texas user. They never take more than their clients. No win, no pay, and no upfront costs. The principal office is in Dallas, Texas, and they've been representing injured Longhorns throughout the state of Texas. Every client gets a personalized text message number so they can contact the team and get direct access to their lawyer all day and all night. Call Andre the Lawyer at 214-444-8808. Car wrecks, 18-wheeler accidents, slips and falls, on-the-job injuries, or anything else, call Andre the Lawyer at 214-444-8808. That about wraps up offense, right? Or do we still have offensive line to go after this for our recruiting intel series?
We did. I think we did O-line, didn't we? I think we went through O-line.
Yeah.
With Fasusi and those guys.
Yeah.
We'll have to check, but if we've hit the offense already, guys, we're humming. We're ready. We're ready for the defensive side of the ball, where I think in state it's even more talented.
And I think by this time next week, we'll be able to talk about some guys who are visiting to see Texas for various practices, scrimmages, and then, of course, the spring game. So
the alive period.
Yeah.
I like to call it the alive period.
February, I'm glad it's a short month because we needed it to be short. So thank you again for watching the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Head to Inside Texas. You can get 1 month of access to cover all this great recruiting for just $1. Of course, spring practices will start up and we'll have great inside intel then. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, come back and see us daily. We got it coming for you here on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.